yourself high. Go and sing to the mountain. Go and sing to the moon. Go and sing to just about everything, 'cause everything is you. Listen to the rhythm of your heart play like a drum. Listen to the night call, singing songs from all around. Go and sing to the mountain. Go and sing to the moon. Go and sing to just about everything, 'cause everything is you. And let your voice go, let it pierce through your soul. And let your voice go, let it pierce through your soul. Let the fires burn tonight. Let the jugs of wine get drunk. Let the truth be known tonight. Don't go let yourself hide. Go and sing to the mountain. Go and sing to the moon. Go and sing to just about everything, 'cause everything is you.
Oh, all the money that e'er I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit to memory now I can I'll softly call. Good night, and joy be with you all. Good night, and joy be with you all. I am resilient, I trust the movement, I negate the chaos, uplift the negative. I'll show up at the table again and again and again. I'll close my mouth and learn to listen. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. 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 These times are poignant, the winds have shifted. It's all we can do to stay uplifted. Pipelines through backyards, wolves howling out front. Yeah, I got my crew, but truth is what I want. Realigned and on point, power to the peaceful, prayers to the waters, women at the center, all vessels open to give and receive. Let's see the system brought down to its knees. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm made of thunder, I'm made of lightning, I'm made of dirt, yeah, made of the fine things. My father taught me that I'm a speck of dust and this world was made for me, so let's go and try our luck, said. I've got my roots down, 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 deep. I've got my roots down, 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 deep. I've got my roots down, 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 deep. I've got my roots down, 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 deep. So what are we doing here? What has been done? What are you gonna do about it when the world comes undone? My voice feels tiny, and I'm sure so does yours. Put us all together, make a mighty trust the movement, I negate the chaos, uplift the negative. I'll show up at the table again and again and again. I'll close my mouth and learn to listen. One, two, three, four. I hear your voice out in the darkness. are slowly turning, and we're both standing face to face. Green lights in open road and skies of endless blue. That's the feeling I get when I'm with you. In all the corners of the universe the light could fall onto, I'm standing next to you. Green lights in open road and skies of endless blue. That's the feeling I get when I'm with you. Green lights in open road and skies of endless blue. That's the feeling I get when I'm with you. I hear your voice out in the darkness. Oh, what a day, what a day, glorious. Gather round, there's nothing better than a friend. Oh, what a day, glorious. Smell of rain has hitched a ride upon the wind. I've got good friends to the left of me and good friends to my right. Got the open sky above me and the earth beneath my feet. Got a song inside my heart that's singing all in like a sea. Oh, what a day. Oh, what a day, glorious. All the clouds have gathered round the tops of trees. Oh, what a day, glorious. Pitter patter, falling rain, I can't believe. All that's green lifts up its leaves, singing water, come on in. We've been waiting all these days, praying you would come to quench every yearning in our bones. Water with your life begins. Oh, what a day. Oh, is believing. Oh, has the wings of faith. Is a clear river of perceiving. All is well. Ooh, this is a friendly mystery. Oh, what a day, glorious.
the night we had a raccoon robbery. Pitter patter, little paws have left their footprints all around. Pitter patter, evidence some fruit has fallen to the ground. Pitter patter, sings my heart at the thought of what's to come. What a day. Is believing. Has the wings of faith. Is a clear river of perceiving. All is well. This is a friendly mystery. All is well. This is a friendly mystery. Oh, what a day. What a day. Glorious. Under the sky we slept last night, just you and me. Oh, what a day. What a day. Glorious. The waning moon, our cycle is almost complete. We've got good friends to the left of us and good friends to our right. We've got the open sky above us and the earth beneath our feet. Never fear, the birds are singing, even endings can be sweet. Oh, what a day. Never fear, the birds are singing, even endings can be sweet. Oh, what a day.
I wanna be like a bird, or just a feather that you place into your hair, or the wind that picks it up and blows it to and fro in the air, like a river that it floats along, like a summer carry I don't wanna move mountains like I'm just where they are. I wanna lift the curtain from my heart, from your heart. What is that we've heard? What is that we're thinking? What have we been letting in from the feeling of the wind, the movement of the air we're in? Through the waters deep and wide, across the divide, through rising sun.
Welcome. If everybody can sit down, please. Can you hear me?
Not the point.
Hey, we need it up.
Sir, to know the language.
Rick, we need it up, the volume.
From my heart.
Hello. Woohoo. I know it's so nice to gather, but we're now late in starting, but that's okay. We were going to be flexible And so the whole point of today is to gather and to connect. And we have time clocks up here. Platform because you can not only start a business, but if you need to pivot, like things have changed in our world, if you think of a new product line you want to launch or a service, it really on one sheet takes you through how to plan for it so that you can properly roll that out and have success, or test it and go, this didn't work, and switch again. Then we have office hours, which is every 2 weeks, on marketing topics where you can talk directly with an expert and learn a subject matter. And then we have regular sessions of finance, marketing, profit sense, and that type of thing. And then lastly, the link on there is for your workshops for the statewide access. So we have 15 other centers, or we're the 15th, that have great training curriculums that have existed longer than we have. So please take a look at that. And then finally, I want to point out the Startup Colorado platform. You can join it right off our website. And the great thing about that platform is you connect with like-minded entrepreneurs and small businesses, nonprofits. You can reach out to angel investors. I think all our financial panelists today are on that platform where you can connect with them by messaging them. I don't know if they want me to say that. Anyway, and that type of thing. And then also connect with our Central Mountain Entrepreneurs Group, which we have about a little over 100 people already joining. But the more people that join, the more dynamic and helpful that will be. And finally, it has this incredible tab about funding resources and why we have that on our page as well. Taylor Grande, who's here. Taylor, if you're in the audience, please stand up and wave. She's Taylor +1 there. And she is our ecosystem developer for Startup Colorado. And she created this incredible funding list, and actually will be doing a workshop for us on November 4th to show you how you can navigate that platform and also understand the grants as well as different loan programs available. And I wanted to point out all the people here today that support small business. Besides Taylor, we have Tom Monaco. So Tom, if you can wave. He's with the Office of Economic Development and International Trade, which from here on we're going to call OEDIT, and the Colorado SBDC. Myself, Tara Reed, who you'll see running around, does admin for our office as well as Chaffey County EDC. And then Jake Rashavi is with Chaffey County EDC. Jake, if you're here, holler. He's in the back there. Marla Ackridge was supposed to be here with Lake County EDC, but had a last-minute emergency. But she is in our program, which I'll talk to you in a minute. Melissa Tyron with Buena Vista Chamber, Angel Rowell with Salida Chamber, as well as Salida Business Alliance. And then Wendy Stewart, who has WorkShare and work support space with the lobby at the Palace Hotel. But why we're here today is because I believe in the power of purpose. And I describe that, and if you Google it, I'm sure the same types of words will show up. It's when you connect with your heart authentically and with honesty and compassion and speak your truth and take the first step to come out of your comfort zone. For me, it's standing up here and speaking in front of you. But often, that is when your purpose comes into focus. And for me, this event really was that. I had started it in May with Tara, and we had just done the launch party for that entrepreneur ecosystem for Startup Colorado. And I thought, how are we ever going to do these two events that we had planned, but didn't really start taking action on them? And Tara's like, we can do it. And about, I don't know, a couple months into that, she's like, oh my gosh, we need help. And so Wendy actually reached out to us and said, you know, I used to do events everywhere. Do you need any help? And it turned out we did, as well as you'll see other volunteers here, Cassie Stride and Tanya Miller. So they really helped us put this together. And the other real trigger for me is why this came to pass was I'm also on the board of the Chaffey County Visitors Bureau, and Garna did a presentation using Envision Chaffey County statistics to our board in May that we will be going from 4 million visitors to 8 million in very short order. I think the number was in 4 years. And it just was kind of alarming to me. And the 4 million was COVID year, not even this summer, where I think we've all seen incredible growth. But they shared the impact on our public lands and our waters, particularly with waste, human waste as well as trash, also just overuse of our trails and our lands. And so they weren't saying we need to stop all that. They were saying we need to address this even more than Garna's been doing for 20 years. So I started thinking about that. And I also know that I represent business, and recreational tourism represents, come on in and sit down. Recreational tourism represents 70% of our economy. And so we have to have tourists come, and the more the better as far as that financially. So I also thought about, I love the high country. I find my peace, tranquility. I find myself up there in the high country. And I love hiking and not biking, not so much, but hiking and jeeping up to the high country and then hiking and camping and skiing. And I have lived here 21 years, so have just really enjoyed those experiences. And also my 2 daughters are here and they're sweeties, and my 4 grandchildren. So to me, this is our place. And I'm sure each of you, if you don't live in this region, somewhere in Colorado is your place, and you think about impact with all the people we're welcoming. But at the same time, it really is their public lands. They pay the taxes, they provide our economic strength in our region, but we need to also balance the sustainability, sustainable tourism, all the things that we can protect the lands that we love. And so I found that it really was a paradox between growing and scaling and trying to figure out how we're going to educate the public on how to recreate responsibly. So this work has been done for years, but it's gotten to the scale that we all need to start trying to figure out what is our little part of that. And we today will explore growth and scale opportunities because we're business, funding, resources, and tools, but we'll also explore sustainable tourism and stewardship and education. We have this huge group of CMC students that are studying outdoor industry, so we're excited to have them join us. So the idea, the idea is to tap into our entrepreneurial energy to address our community scale challenges and our community scale opportunities. So we have a whole group of thought leaders that are joining us today, and I do want to reiterate that I think Alan Robinson is in the house, and several of the Garna people that have been doing this work for 20 plus years. And then I know Commissioner Baker, as well as Commissioner Felt. This work has been done a long, long time, but it's also needing to evolve so that more of us are doing it. So that's why these experts are here. I'm very excited to have them all. I was gonna go through the list, but I think we don't have the time right now. And so today really is about exploring what the next purpose is, what our next cause, or how we can pull that purpose and cause into our businesses or into our nonprofits to really start individually making a difference in our communities. So I think of the Sound of Music. When God closes a door, he opens a window, and I think a purpose is that. Either the door opens, a little window opens, a crack of light shows, and that's really where you follow your heart and try to start making differences. So I invite you to enjoy, to connect, to collaborate on this day, because it's about you and it's about us collectively. And lastly, I want to say there's an online program that I would really regret creating because it was 45 pages. It was just me. But in that online program, it has a page on every person that you're seeing today, as well as our sponsors and supporters, so that you can have this document evergreen to access and connect with all the people that you meet today, and then maybe create your own groups from that. So please use that as a tool. And I would like to introduce, I shouldn't start with not, it's my great pleasure to introduce Keith Baker, who is our Chaffee County Commissioner, as well as a leader in the outdoor industry for years and years, and a commander in the United States Navy. So please help me welcome Keith Baker.
Well, thank you, Jamie, and thanks everyone for being here today. I'm not going to try to name everybody that I recognize, lots of old friends from the outdoor industry, and as Jamie mentioned, lots of leaders here in the community who have been leaders in the outdoor industry for a long time. I want to share a few thoughts with you about where Chaffee County is and where Chaffee County is going, and then try to frame your thinking a little bit and offer some perspectives about how I hope you will view the proceedings from today and some takeaways that you might have. Here in Chaffee County, we are working on some very big projects, some very big topics right now. The facts are, we are way behind. And I guess that's one thing I would share with you right now as a thought. Always be proactive to the extent you can. If you're embarking on a new business now, if you're rethinking the strategic plan for any business you may be embarking upon or that you're already involved in, you have to get way ahead of the game. And if you're going to be a true leader, you have to be thinking years downstream. You have to be looking at current events, past events, analyzing them, shaping your own vision, and planning for them. The people you lead depend on you to do that. Your market is going to depend on you to do that, and your success will depend on you to do that. So what are some things I'm talking about? Well, Cindy Williams is here. Jamie mentioned, and a lot of you are here from the local area, we're involved in the Envision Chaffee County project. That was sort of a gateway for us to launch into updating our comprehensive plan, or as statute calls it for a county level, a master plan. And one of the objectives that I had for that project, personally, was to prove that we could do a project like that and to show that we were committed to achieving the goals that were established in that project. Because our comprehensive plan was over 20 years old, and it was based on input, public input, that had been done 20 years or so before that. It had constant, consistent themes, but we really weren't acting on them. And consequently, things were running away from us rapidly. So through Envision, we were able to enact programs and ideas that had been on the drawing board for years, like our Chaffee Community Foundation. Michael Hannigan's here. He was the first executive director for the Community Foundation, got that off to a great start, and it's a vibrant part of our community now. We updated our Community Wildfire Protection Plan. We've embarked on lots of landscape, forest, watershed health, and other proactive activities that we had wanted to enact years before. We got the voters to pass a sales tax increment, which gives us funding for 3 key areas: soil and water conservation, or protecting our agricultural lands, largely through paying transactional fees to put them under conservation easements and projects and so forth in that regard. Forest and watershed health, and then mitigating the impacts of outdoor recreation. So that's a big one. Now, some projects that we're working on right now. We do have to update our land use code to really enact our new comprehensive plan. That was one of the problems with our old comp plan. It had never been codified into land use code. It's okay, it's great to come up with vision. And in some respects, that's the easy part. The tough part is enacting that vision, coming up with concrete goals And that's a challenge for leadership. And that will be a challenge for you in your business. Is concrete goals, time phase goals, quantifiable, measurable metrics, key performance indicators, identifying all those. The second thing that we're doing in progress right now is developing a strategic plan for the county. Now, this is a little bit more inward facing. This is more enacting the tasking that the citizens have given us as county commissioners and the staff and all the people who work within the county structure to make these things happen, to animate them. We don't have a strategic plan right now. I don't know of any successful organization of any real size that doesn't have a strategic plan. So we're working on that now. So there's land use code and strategic plan. And then the third thing, and I'm really excited about this, is a sustainable development plan. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes, or a sustainable development program. Now there's two functional words in there, sustainable and development. It doesn't mean that we're going to try to bring everything to an all stop and all go back to living in log cabins and cooking over a wood fire, because we do have to progress, we do have to advance. But we have to be thoughtful and deliberate and intentional about it. So those are three things that are going on in Chaffee County. And that's pretty much the extent of my sales pitch. If you're looking to locate or relocate a business, or if you can tell somebody else about us and our story and about how we are shaping our own future, then please do. And of course, we have a lot of community leaders and thought leaders here, and you can ask me what's going on. I'm going to try to stay here all day. I will be multitasking some. It doesn't mean that I'm not paying attention, but please come chat with me if you need to. So the three areas that I hope you'll bear in mind as we go through today, and today we have a really great agenda. The first thing is, when it comes to outdoor recreation, have a very broad interpretation of that. Have a very inclusive interpretation of that. Bring a health and fitness mindset to your penchant and your love for outdoor recreation. If you want to open a climbing shop and focus on climbing, that's great. That's fantastic. But do not demean somebody whose idea of outdoor recreation is birding and wildlife viewing and leisurely hiking. Revel in that. Take joy in that. At least they're out there doing something. And they can become a proponent for outdoor recreation as well. Now, some people like me at my age, we came to outdoor recreation through a little bit of a circuitous path. In the late 60s, during the hippie days, during the back to the land movement, got a former hippie here too. A lot of us got into hiking and through hiking and other sorts of activities. And then we got into canoeing, which eventually became kayaking and whitewater rafting and rock climbing and lots of other things. So many times, these can be gateway activities for people. So do not demean people. You know, we owned our outdoor shop. When I first got into the outdoor rec business, I got into it for the gear. I'm a gearhead. I'm a Gemini, and I proudly admit that. I have a poet's soul and an engineer's brain. I can see two things. I can hold two competing ideas firmly in my mind at the same time. So I got into it for the gear. I was all about ropes and cams and hexes and tents, and not just any tents. They had to be high elevation, 4-season tents. Summit suits, Gore-Tex, all that stuff. But if we hadn't sold stickers and water bottles and chapsticks and sunscreen and socks and T-shirts, we wouldn't have been in business. Because you don't sell enough cans, and those are durable goods. So be very broad in your thinking, and be very open in your thinking, and revel in the outdoor business, and take a health and fitness mindset to it. If people go out for a run, if they go out for a walk, they're working on their health, they're improving their health, they're improving their fitness. And outdoor activities are a way to achieve that. They're a component of it. So the second thing is do everything you can to improve the accessibility to outdoor recreation for people. Now, when I say that, I don't mean throw the doors wide open to all of our outdoors areas and not try to channel activity, not try to focus activity. But reverting back to the first one, be open to new ideas so that people can enjoy the outdoors who may not otherwise be able to. Now here I'm thinking about things like e-bikes. We've got Rick and Nancy Fox here who have a great little business which is expanding and growing in Chaffee County. And it is getting people outdoors now that years ago we wouldn't have seen outdoors. It's given them access to fun outdoors activities and giving them an appreciation for the outdoors that they probably never had before. Or if they had it, through various physical limitations or others, they couldn't access the outdoors. I used to be all about human-powered stuff, and thank goodness I can still rely on my own power and my own locomotion to get out and enjoy the outdoors. But when I first moved up here, we used to have an avalanche workshop every year. And some of the major proponents of that program and project were snowmobilers. And I heard one of them speak one night, and it gave me a different way of thinking about snow machines and over-the-snow transportation. And basically what it boiled down to was this guy was no longer physically able to backcountry ski or snowshoe. So the only way for him to get into the woods in the wintertime and enjoy them was to go on a snow machine. And he was a leading advocate for responsible motorized over-the-snow transportation. So don't just write it off. When that recent study, or somewhat recent, it's been about 6 or 8 years now, Outdoor Recreation Survey was done and found out it was at that time a $700 billion industry, which far eclipsed a lot of industries, big industries. It included motorized transportation and motorized recreation. It can be done responsibly. So back to my original point about having an inclusive mindset to things. People can motorize responsibly, and that's what we need to be striving for through outdoor education. And we've got a group here in Chaffee County called CORE, Colorado Off-Road Enterprise, and their tagline is "Keep Trails Open." And what they mean by that, their message to their membership is behave responsibly, don't go out and do things that give motorized outdoor recreation a bad reputation. Be responsible, behave yourself, and keep our trails open. Don't induce clamor to close all the motorized trails. So be inclusive. And then the third thing, and this is the broad category of protecting the resource, as you start to build your business or as you reorient your business, do it in a sustainable manner. And when I say sustainable, I'm talking full spectrum sustainability. How many people are familiar with the 17 global goals? The 17 sustainable development goals. If you're not, Google them. You can probably start with global goals. But it isn't just clean air and water. Those are certainly important. And I'm the last person on earth to discount those. But it's things like worker rights. It's things like adequate shelter and housing. It's things like sustainable transportation networks and transportation systems. It's things like education. It encompasses a lot of other things. And those are things, as you're running a business, you have to think about your training program, your professional development program. What are you doing for the people who work for you or with whom you work? Have a holistic view of sustainability and full spectrum sustainability. DEI programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion, if you're not familiar with the term DEI yet. Consider organizing as a B Corp, a public benefit corporation. Patagonia has reorganized as a B Corp. The Colorado Independent, Colorado Sun is a B Corp. There are lots of public benefit corporations. And because that is a taxation category and an organizational category, there are certain requirements that you have to meet there so that you don't just say it. You're not greenwashing, or you're not pink washing or rainbow washing or any of these other terms that we've heard about. If you're in an apparel business, try to close the circle. Our landfills are filling up with fast fashion, with junk clothing that sometimes doesn't even get worn before it goes to the landfill. It's not even a sufficient quality to recycle or repurpose or to put onto the secondary market. So consider those things about full spectrum sustainability. So look at outdoor recreation from a health and fitness mindset, holistically. Do what you can to achieve greater accessibility to the outdoors for people. And there's lots of things there, too, with accessibility about price, availability, all sorts of things that you can do to make outdoors more accessible to people. And then the third thing, take a very holistic view of sustainability, not just to protect the resource today, but to protect it for future generations. Jamie mentioned purpose. Purpose and relevance are major factors in the business and leadership discussions today. Find some podcasts to listen to. Find some things to read and rely on. Find some role models and leaders. Now, in the outdoor business, we always default to the late, great Doug Tompkins. Dave Foreman, I know Bill Dvorak knows. Bill Dvorak's a great role model in many respects. Yvon Chouinard, everybody thinks of him, but broaden your scope. Open your aperture up. Look to people in other businesses and industries who are taking a sustainable public benefit mindset to the way that they run their business and the way that they run their businesses. One podcast that I find very beneficial to listen to is called the CMO podcast. And they are in-depth interviews with chief marketing officers. And the real focus on there is sustainability and purpose and relevance, the long-term viability of the business and the corporation. So With that, I will wrap it up. I know we've got a panel coming up. My old friend Brian Rose is on it, and look forward to meeting some more of you during the course of the day. And by all means, I have some business cards and everything. I'll get those out to you, but I'm always available and I'm always accessible. So thank you very much.
So we're going to try to jump on this. At the Power of We, our Women's Entrepreneur please, panelists, join the stage so we can move forward. We did our fundraising or our funding session at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we realized that was a really bad idea. And so we're starting with funding. I have to say, almost everyone that reaches out to us says, what grant can I get to fund my idea? And I think that's a myth. You can get grants, and they're here to really start up. In fact, OED is about to roll out a lot of funding. But you have to have a business plan. And it can be a lean canvas plan, a one-page plan. You have to have some kind of collateral. And you need to have supporters, however that will look. So Alice is going to share kind of some of the cool impact funding that we have. And I reached out to them first about, hey, can you join us for this summit? And it was her great idea to bring these two guys along to really cover the whole spectrum of finance. So I just thank you all for joining us, and I'll let you jump in. We'll start with Alice, then Corey, and Brian, and we have the slides up here if you want to tell me, Brian, or you can do them. So Alice, please. And all you do is push enter. Yep.
Hi, everyone. My name's Alice Havel. I'm with the Colorado Impact Fund. It's very exciting to be here. It's actually exciting to see people in person again, be at a conference. We are a venture capital firm based out of Denver, but our focus is on investing in Colorado companies that are bringing impact. It's a very broad and ambitious statement, so I'll try to give you a bit of a taste. Just to give you perspective, we are at the later stage funding. So when you think about raising money for your venture that you're working on, you'll probably start in the grants and the angel side of things with small check sizes. And then you'll start to go into what's called the seed investing side of it before going into the growth phase. And I'll talk more about that in detail. We're at that growth phase. Let's pause for a moment, just talk about what impact is and what our mission is. So as a venture capital firm, we're looking to invest in companies that are looking to grow beyond their geographical boundaries of their local county or city to grow within the state, nationally, and in some of our companies' cases, internationally. We are looking for impact, and impact could be the product or service, so how the product or service creates impact in human lives. It could be impact of where the business is located and who is running the business. So empowering founders that don't normally get access to capital, and empowering communities where the business is based that don't normally get to see growth companies. Or it could be that the company is part of Colorado's growth future. So it could be in industries that the state has identified as growth opportunities. For us, some of these opportunity examples include clean tech, healthcare and community health. It could be education, and it could be other avenues of engineering, such as we're in a laser company, for example, for semiconductors. So just going a step back and looking at when we invest, so we talk about high growth. So we're talking about beyond proof of concept and saying, we think we've got something here in the market and we'd like to take it around the state, around the country, around the world. That proof of concept's a little early for us. That proof of concept could be, I think we've got an idea, we've talked to a few people in the market, they really like what we're doing, we'd like some money to test it out. Proof of concept's a little before us. we're looking for after that and wanting to grow the idea further, tweak it, refine it, really drive what's called the go-to-market strategy, and really refining the business model. We also are looking at how that impact plays into a part. So whether the impact is going to grow around the nation with that particular product or service, or maybe how the business needs to grow within the community that it's based in, or maybe empower it to position itself in another community in Colorado that doesn't normally see a business of this magnitude get to grow there. So this slide's a little janky, but let's just talk about some ways to think about fast growth companies. So 3 things to think about for us when we're investing is the risk of entry into the market, so how certain that product or service is going to be successful. And to be honest, in many cases, it's a lot of risk, and that's a big part of what we get ready for. So you balance that with risk return, and return is that financial risk along with the financial opportunity along with the impact opportunity. So another way of thinking about it is if your business is intending to stay local, modest but important in size, the risk might be medium, but you might not need a lot of capital or cash to grow your business. Probably not a fit for venture capital. You're probably looking at local community banks, local grants, and maybe small local investors that can help you launch that business. If you're looking for a high impact company, but it really might not see any major returns and there's a lot of risk associated, this is often philanthropy, where you're looking to create change and an impact into your environment. Less so with the economic return, but certainly there's some challenges associated with executing it. We are more on that higher risk of executing, and then you've got the return both financially and from impact, environmental or social community. So I'll just quickly give you a taste of a couple of companies that we've invested in to show you how we've invested in companies along our investment mandate. So this concept of investing in a product or service can be seen in 2 of our companies, SiriusMD and Keystone Towers. Keystone Towers is building taller towers for wind turbines. It's important because as the towers get taller, you get exponential capture of energy. The problem is if you've ever seen turbines or towers being transported on the roads, they're restricted by the heights. So they have a process of building it on site. SiriusMD has created a telemedicine, so it's text first, chat first, telemedicine, so that anyone can have an access to doctors in a time that suits them. So it's democratizing access to medical services. On the side of democratizing access to capital and creating opportunities both in different geographical areas as well as demographics. 2 examples is Maria Empanada and InterviewIA. So InterviewIA is a platform to allow companies to hire equitably and with efficiency under a standardized interviewing template. The team is a team of 3 who identify as person of color, Hispanic heritage, and female. So to have that unique trio of individuals brings unique perspective, unique diversity, and are able to solve a problem that everyone in the world is suffering right now. Maria Empanada is a company that looks at hiring individuals who are from Hispanic backgrounds and sell empanada products, and is founded by a woman who came from Argentina to bring a food product to the States. And then just finally talking about a couple of companies that bring exemplary company operational techniques and are supporting industries that are important to the state, Chocolove and Friday Healthcare. So Chocolove does exactly that. They make chocolate that people love, but they focus on a supply chain that is that ensures environmental friendly sourcing, as well as ensuring fair trade in the workforce that supplies the products. Friday Health Plans is actually based in Alamosa, and they offer a healthcare product on the public market that allows individuals who work, and this might resonate with people here, who work in the seasonal jobs, outdoor industry as contractors, gig economy, or starting their own business, to have a healthcare plan that suits them better than what's already on the market. They also employ one of the largest employers in Alamosa and focus on helping to train individuals out of the community colleges to work for the company. So hopefully that gives you a taste of what Colorado Impact Fund is all about. I look forward to us answering questions today and then also meeting with people who want to know more about venture capital, raising funds beyond your proof of concept, and just generally understanding how to grow a business from scratch to success. Thank you.
I'm happy to just hop on in, yeah. Keep on going down the line. My name is Corey Finney. I'm a partner with the Greater Colorado Venture Fund. I missed the slide memo, so today you get me. I'm also going to try and keep this fairly brief. I was told that there's going to be some time for Q&A, so I want to make sure that you all have time and opportunity to ask your questions. And quite frankly, I think you did a great job of summarizing the venture landscape, so I don't want to hash out anything we've already gone through. The Greater Colorado Venture Fund is a $17.5 million fund. We are dedicated to investing in companies exclusively headquartered in rural Colorado. What's it mean to be headquartered in rural Colorado? Well, from our lens, that's the founding team lives and operates in rural Colorado. Companies have a great majority of their assets in rural Colorado, and the compensation that they're paying, majority is going to rural Colorado. That's important for a lot of reasons for us. It's important because when we started our fund, we were in a period where we'd seen some of the largest economic growth our country had ever seen, right? We were on the tail end of the longest bull history in our market. But when you broke down the statistics, over half that economic growth was recognized in just 17 out of 3,007 counties in our country. Now, when I think about that, I think, well, no wonder why we have so much divide. You name it across the spectrum. We are telling entrepreneurs, innovators, creative minds that you can only have opportunity and be able to build in 17 zip codes. That's wild to me, right? And we know that that's not the case. Creativity doesn't have a zip code. You can build a company anywhere, especially in today's world. And so we strongly believe that, and that's why we focus our efforts on companies in rural Colorado. We believe that economic diversity is one of the most important things for our communities, the small communities that we have. When they become overly reliant on one industry, whether that's oil and gas or whether that's tourism, whatever it may be, you set yourself up for potential failure, in our opinion. Bringing in jobs so people can compete and have affordable, well-paid salaries so they can buy a house in their community, stay local, live there year-round, support the businesses, the coffee shops. That's all hopefully potential outcomes of bringing these high-growth companies into rural Colorado or supporting the ones that are already starting there. So that's our focus. The state is our largest investor. We've been incredible to have an amazing partner in them. We are also supported by a handful of individuals and foundations from across Colorado, but we are a for-profit venture fund. And our belief is if we can show that you can get market returns outside of metro markets, more capital will flow into these ecosystems, more opportunity will be created in the communities we love. Rural, another fun definition, rural for us, the way we look at it is counties of 150,000 people or less. In Colorado, that ends up being 54 of our 64 counties. It boils down to anywhere that's not between Fort Collins and Colorado Springs. Similarly, we're looking for growth companies, right? Headquartered locally, but can sell anywhere. An example, Western Rise is the shirt I'm wearing. They're based in Telluride, but they're selling their clothing onto 6 different continents. We have a company in Durango called Agile Space Industries. They're 3D printing propulsion systems that are going to take us to the moon and beyond. For the aerospace industry, a company that the outdoor industry may be familiar with was QuietCat. They're a company we invested in out of Eagle, making e-bikes for the really hunting, fishing market, got some into the military as well. They were recently acquired by Vista Outdoors earlier this year. So that's kind of profile of what we're looking for. We, I think, come in a little bit earlier than Colorado Impact Fund typically, which means we also write a little bit smaller checks, bit smaller checks. Right? We kind of use the analogy, if you're building a business, you're creating an organism, it's got to crawl, it's got to walk, and then it's got to run. Our sweet spot is that seed stage when the business is kind of coming out of crawling, taking its first steps, still kind of wobbly. We help it get to running, where somebody like Colorado Impact Fund can come in and help it with the growth stage of the company and really go from walking to sprinting. Our average check size to date has been $300,000. The average round size we're participating in has been $850,000. Those are loose averages. The range is much larger. The smallest round was $100,000. The smallest check we've written was $50,000. The largest round we participated in was $2.5 million, and the largest check we wrote was $750,000. Let's see. I want to stress, like, venture capital is not for everyone. We are selling rocket fuel to people building rockets. You would not put rocket fuel in an F-150. There's nothing wrong with an F-150. It needs a different type of fuel. Our capital is really, 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 really expensive, right? Brian will kind of touch on some of this of what they may be looking for, but our IRR, our return rate, is 30% north, is what we're looking on. And that's largely because we're looking across a blended portfolio of very high risk, very high reward opportunities. Statistically, a third of the investments that we make will go to zero. A third, we may get our money back, and a third end up hopefully generating the returns for the entire portfolio. For us to be in the top quartile of what we do, we want to return 3x on our fund. So that's kind of where you hear, oh, VCs want to see the path to 10x on their capital. It's because we're trying to mitigate some of the losses that we're going to see in our portfolio, still be in the top quartile of what we get to do, so we get to go raise another fund, stack management fees, the fun stuff, right? We're patient capital, so when we write a check, we aren't looking to get our money back immediately. We're here for a long journey. We have a 10-year fund vehicle that can go out to 14 years. So when we write a check, we're here for the next 7 to 10 years. The average time to exit on an equity investment in a high-growth company is about 7 years, 7 to 9 years. Fun fact, it's also sad fact maybe, that's also the average time of a U.S. marriage. I throw that out there because I think it's relevant. We are looking at this as a partnership, right? When we make an investment, we're partners. We're committed to you, you're committed to us. We're going to be incredibly hands-on. We may be on your board. We may be helping approve budgets on a quarterly basis. We may be approving hiring plans, what name it. It truly is a relationship when you take on venture capital. So higher risk, higher reward, expect higher returns. We're going to be a little bit more hands-on than you may find as well from other capital sources. I don't want to get into too much more because, again, I think you hammered it pretty well, but our money is really good for team, marketing, scaling, R&D, market expansion. It's really bad for slow growth, inventory, fixed assets, and the super, super early experiments. That's kind of more where a lot of angel capital often comes into play. So I'll leave it at that and turn it over to Brian to give us the next part of the capital stack.
Houston, we have a problem. I did. I'm trying to think where they are now.
Test, test. We're going to do a stretch right now. We have Tanya with us. We're going to lead us through just a quick stretch.
This one?
Okay, you're gonna stay in your chair.
Oh my God, I don't have my left ankle. It's it.
ahead. Sure. Where? No, I had him in there. Just a second. No, it's okay. I'm just trying to.
We're good, I think. Yeah. Nice improv there, thank you. Hello, everybody, I'm Brian Rose. I'm from Region 9, the Economic Development District of Southwest Colorado. Sorry about my voice. I did hit puberty a while ago, but I've been on the road for 11 days and doing a lot of networking and talking, and it comes and goes, so thanks for bearing with me. You know, there's been lots of news about federal spending and CARES Act funding, and sometimes we don't always see where that money ends up. Well, today, you're going to see it. I was the beneficiary of receiving some CARES Act money that I was going to share with you guys. The funding came through in a partnership with a couple of other nonprofit lenders like my company. But maybe I'll back up real quick. So in Region 9, I serve 5 counties in southwest Colorado. So my territory goes basically from Wolf Creek to the Utah border and from Silverton down to the New Mexico border. But we had a vision for obtaining some funding that can stretch beyond just those 5 counties, and that's what I'm sharing today. So we received $8 million. We split it up where $4.3 million went to Colorado Enterprise Fund and Colorado Lending Source, which some of you may have heard. They are focusing primarily on supporting businesses that are in the urban corridor. I received the $2.88 million that I can lend anywhere in rural Colorado. So here's the breakdown of the different counties. Like Corey mentioned, you know, our metro area and our urban definition is just 10 counties along the Front Range. The other 50 plus are the areas that I'm serving with this funding. We wrote a few priorities in to get the money. Primarily, we want to increase access to capital. There's lots of times where we go in and we talk to traditional lenders like banks, and you need $100,000, and at the end of the conversation, you feel like you might get 50 or you might get 60,000. So I'm looking to fill that gap and increase that access to capital. It's all about jobs. We really are focusing on having this money create an impact by creating jobs in our communities. I was running this calculator the other day. I have a company that has 150 jobs in Montezuma County, real small county in my area. That economic impact of those 150 jobs there relative to Denver, it equaled 5,400 jobs in the Denver metro area. So jobs in rural Colorado are important and our big focus of this. We've got a couple other things in there. We're trying to help businesses because we don't have unlimited funding that are competing minimally within the area. We love primary employers. That's a big definition in the economic development world, where that's basically a company that exports its products and services beyond the county line and imports the money and the revenue from it. Doesn't have to be. We do have a lot of flexibility. Those are the ones that maybe score a little bit higher in our grading. So we have a couple of requirements that we look at. I have to have $2 of outside leveraging for every dollar that I can lend. So I can't be the only lender and funder in a transaction. That's where I work with a lot of banks. I'm a recovering banker, and so I can talk their talk, and we've been able to work out a lot of creative deals to get that leverage. The leverage can go beyond lenders if that can be your investment capital that you're willing to put into a particular project. It could be grant money. We've done a lot of partnerships where companies have received grants to solve some of the landfill issues like Commissioner Baker was talking about. Well, the grant was paying for half of the cost. They had to come up with the other, and with a little bit of their money and a little bit of our money, we were able to move that project forward. Maximum loan size I can go is $250,000. We are looking to try to have at least 10% of the project cost put in by the company or the owners of a company, especially in a purchase situation. And then, like I mentioned, with the target of creating jobs, we've set some parameters where we're going to lend $25,000 per job that gets created as a result of your project or gets retained. So we do count employees that are already in the company. And if you're a smaller company and don't have a lot of employees, but there's 2 of you that own the company, that's 2 jobs, so we're off to a good start. We count the owners as well, even though they typically aren't taking paychecks at a startup rate. But and then our interest is the same on all the deals. It's prime plus 2. We've been fixing that to keep it as low as possible. And we've got a few other benefits. That rate can come down a little bit, but we're trying to be low cost and while supporting the businesses. As in most government assisted financing, there's always some ineligible uses. We can't have the funds be used to purchase a small equity position in a company. We can help finance it if you're going to buy the whole company. There's my voice cracking, sorry. But not a partial interest. The money can't be borrowed and parked in a savings account. Sometimes banks want to see a stronger balance sheet and they ask for more cash. It can't be used for that. We want it to create impact and get in play and start improving conditions in our communities. Refinance is not something we're looking to do. Again, we're trying to enhance the access to capital. So if you've already got the capital, then we're probably looking for that next project with you versus refinancing. And then construction is tough for us. This is federal funding. If there's any construction involved in your project, it requires Davis-Bacon wages, which is an accounting nightmare, and I don't think we pay those wages anywhere in rural Colorado. So that's just a high level about our loan fund and how we may be able to help. I'm going to hang around most of the day today out at one of the tables and attend the financing breakout group later. If I can answer any questions, happy to do so. And thanks for coming out today.
So if you have questions, just whoops, raise your hand. I guess I'm louder than I thought, huh? We have mics, so we'll run up if we have our mic people come out here and get your Q&As. Do you have any questions right here? Well, wait, we need you to speak into the mic because the virtual people cannot hear you.
Hi, Rick Fox with BBE Bikes. Brian, I just wanted to ask you, in part of your ineligible uses, is it possible to get funding for renting a new location?
For renting a new location?
Yeah.
Yeah, working capital, equipment, inventory purchases, they're all eligible. So
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Yeah, we love the expansion idea. You're opening another location, more employees. Sounds like a great use of the funds.
Great.
Hi, Nathan Lawrence with Central Colorado Law. I'm curious what each of you think are some legal prerequisites or hurdles. What do you see in portfolio companies that needs cleanup or needs to be done before they can get an investment.
You want me to start? Okay. I think that's always a challenge with companies because we don't expect them to be ready for public offering, the type of legal framework around that. But it is important to have very clean bylaws, articles of incorporation. There'll often be areas around your share pool and share offerings going forward. So good governance, it doesn't have to be the cleanest that you'll see at these big corporations, but it is important to have clear trajectory and clear insight. And the reason is, once you come through the three of us, after Colorado Impact Fund, you're probably going to larger equity firms, and you want to make sure that when you get there, you have a strong foundation of who you are from a legal governance perspective, who has what ownership, who has what entities, because you're going to be with much bigger partners going down the road there who have much stronger legal force on what they want. And if it's nice, clean and crisp, albeit simple, from those early companies, that helps in that. So for those who are setting up companies today and thinking of going the route of growth capital, having a good fractional lawyer who understands business models and understands business growth, and then also understands legal governance is very important, because it just helps you with your negotiations as you get capital at different stages.
The two things we run into more often than not, we often have to help companies work through these before we can write a check, is have a vesting schedule in place, right? Founders should all be on vesting schedules that grant their equity out over a period of time. That's something that any growth investor is going to require. The other one is a little bit less fun and probably may rub a couple folks in the room the wrong way, but C Corp versus LLC. As a VC, we typically can only invest in C Corps. And the reason why is because LLCs and S Corps are flow-through entities. And we can't be receiving 35 K1s that we then have to parse out to all of our investors, because we also are a flow-through entity. That's really the only reason why VCs don't invest in LLCs. I'm sure there's more, but that's my understanding. So it's a lazy thing on our part, and a thing that our investors just won't take. So if you want to take growth capital, I'd say set up as a C Corp or B Corp from the get-go, have vesting agreements.
And just because you're a C Corp, I think Corey brings up an awesome point. Just because you're a C Corp doesn't mean you're not for impact, you're not for environmental change, you're not for progress. There's a misconception that you need to be a B Corp or a nonprofit to prove that that's the path of your business. And that's not true. It's all about the mission behind your company, the business model you've created, and the culture you create within your company. The C Corp helps you with the capital raise, as he mentioned. That doesn't mean that you're not for impact, for growth, for change.
We're not lawyers, so this isn't legal advice.
Yeah. No authorization.
Just a couple things to add. On the loan side, we can work with all types of businesses, from sole proprietor to corporation. But the one thing we're looking for is that you're a registered company within the state of Colorado. No Delaware companies, no Las Vegas companies, please. Thanks.
We love Delaware.
Thank you, Alice and Corey and Brian. I so appreciate it. And they will be here throughout the day, so tap into their energy and their information. And they also will be part of our breakout sessions later this afternoon. So thank you. Now, we're going to see if we can get right back to our technology. I wanted to share an example of sort of a do better, be better film about an idea of what you can do. And again, Quinn Snacks is not in the outdoor industry, but they are a wonderful example. And Christy Lewis spoke at the Power of We, and I just love this film, so I wanted to share before we engage with Cindy Williams, and she's going to share the information of all the challenges we need to start looking at. So thank you. Lewis spoke.
How much? Lewis. How? I started with. How much? This quest pushed me to learn everything I can about agriculture, farmers, packaged food, this planet, how they connect, and why it all matters. But wait, back up. In the beginning, the idea to clean up microwave popcorn, this nostalgic classic snack I grew up with, because when I realized what was actually in it, I was frustrated, and then I was just flat out pissed. We can't settle for this. So I started experimenting and took out all the junk, the known carcinogens, PFCs, PFOAs, plastics, chemicals, that metal patch, and replaced it with paper, compostable paper. And what? Because when I realized what was actually in it, I was frustrated, and then I was just flat out pissed.
It's this. Do you want it on this?
No, your mic is muted. And I'm not sure exactly where I'm getting that feedback.
Is it those mics? Did you turn those mics off? The speaker mic?
No, your mic.
It was just an idea, turned prototype. Then I met Dave Vetter. Dave has been our supplier of organic popcorn kernels since day one, and was our first and only manufacturer willing to run our new Pure Pop bag on his line.
What we as a family have always looked at as organic, as a lot of people now are calling regenerative organic, with an added emphasis on soil health, animal welfare, and social justice.
Dave's father, Don, forged a new path in agriculture back in the 1950s, back when ethics, science, and post-World War II collided and went against biodiversity and our ecosystems.
What's so important about the soil is that every one of us depend on our survival on basically a 6-inch layer of a non-significant portion of the Earth's crust. And at the rate that we've been degrading it, if we don't begin building them back up, they're not going to survive. Because it is a living organism as well, and we can't expect it to be healthy and thrive if we keep dumping poison.
Today, Dave's land is this oasis, beaming with light, smack in the middle of the U.S., an organic farm that is pioneering regenerative ag practices. Practices that have a massive impact on our planet and our food.
The bigger picture is environmental, because we reduce water pollution, it reduces air pollution. We increase diversity of wildlife, it begins to flourish in some space where it was not doing well. The other is to be able to produce healthy food, clean food.
I didn't really understand it then, when I first started on this journey, with what Dave had been building, the change he was making. He knew what I was trying to do before I knew what I was trying to do.
For me, part of it is feeling good about what you do with the land and how you manage resources.
Sometimes it's just for knowing, this instinct that we are doing it all wrong, that there is a better way.
The food industry was missing connecting someone to your food.
The ones that are really serious about advancing organic and good food are pretty transparent.
100%. You know, almost 10 years later, that's why we're here. Is that there was a believer in Quinn.
Anybody that's trying to make something like work, I'm ready to go.
The more I uncovered, the more questions that went unanswered, I realized it wasn't just about reimagining microwave popcorn. It was about reimagining food, what it could be, what it should be, and then knowing as a company, as humans, we could always be and do better. So, how do we take 99% of conventional ag and push it in the right direction? Steve Tucker is doing just that. He's one of a few farmers, just like Dave, who believes in a future that starts from the soil up.
Should we be scared? I'm hiding behind you.
Is this our sorghum?
This is your white sorghum.
This is the future.
That's it. This is, you know what this is? Pretzels, right here, right here.
Steve is doing a test trial with 85 acres of sorghum for our pretzels using regenerative practices.
What really makes healthy soil? What does it begin with? It begins with plants. And once you grasp that concept, the whole game changes. So instead of putting all the toxic things and trying to control every dynamic to the farm, now how do I work with it? And how do I feed it so that it can take care of itself?
If this trial works, we will have an ingredient that not only betters our growers, our families, and our planet, but it will show other farmers that they can do it differently, and they can start now. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't need a seal of approval. It's about taking any step in the right direction. It's the challenge to be and do better than you are today.
What I love about working with you is that you're completely transparent. Because this is my biggest piece, is like we need to know like how our ingredients are growing, who's growing it, why, and the whole process behind it.
Well, it's just nice that people have an interest in what we do. Because you care enough about your customers and what you do that you want to know where it comes from. You're the first food company to ever be on this place.
Really?
Yes.
We need to know what they're doing to this.
Right.
And then we need to push back. It's the only way the food system in ag is really going to change.
Take this in for a second. The choices farmers, food manufacturers, and brands like Quinn make decide the future of our food and planet. We are determining our fate, and as consumers, you are too.
To make this work on any kind of scale for the farmers other than just a few of us out here, it's going to take a lot of people being choosy about what they eat. And then supporting those brands that are also supporting that regenerative approach to agriculture and good food.
It's this quest, this vision to build a food company that doesn't stop learning, questioning, doing. And it's not just me. It has become this community of believers around this idea that if we can be and do better, our world will change. That you can actually deliver a better tasting, better for you snacks that is a part of life moments, that create special memories, all while doing good. Doing good in agriculture, doing good for our farmers, for my children, their children, your children. And after almost a decade of building Quinn, we are finally able to share in our journey. And the good thing for you is that we're just getting started.
Test. It's my honor to welcome in Cindy Williams, Envision Chaffee County, and our next session is the Chaffee County Outdoor Recreation Management Plan. Let's give Cindy a round of applause. And Dominique, unfortunately, that was to be here with Cindy on stage, had a death in the family, so keep Dominique and her family in your thoughts today. Please welcome Cindy.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thanks all for being here. A quick question for you. How many of, I think when we listened to Jamie's presentation this morning, we heard her passion for the outdoors as a place that connects her, kind of revitalizes her soul. How many of you out there feel that way about your outdoor recreation experiences? Yeah, exactly. So I'm the co-chair of Envision Chaffee County, along with Commissioner Greg Felt. And I'm excited to share with you today some information about the Chaffee Rec Plan. But this is an interactive session, So what I'm even more excited about is getting your feedback on some important questions. And I think we're going to pass out note cards, and we want to make sure everybody has one, or a jillion if you want them. And as we work through this presentation, what we'd really love is your insights and your creative ideas on the questions that are up here. So we're working here in Chaffee County to create a shared recreation culture where we protect our natural resources, to have recreation experiences that are clean and fun and wild for this generation and for the next generation. We're working to create shared stewardship with the community and with all of you in business. And we're interested in your ideas of how we might do that together. Where can we connect the ideas in this presentation with shared benefits for business as well? And said another way, the second question we're going to ask you is how might we implement this Chaffee Rec plan and similar plans around the state of Colorado together? The Chaffee Rec plan is serving as a model for the state. There's 7 other communities now in the state that are creating similar all lands recreation plans. The idea that the governor and Colorado Parks and Wildlife has is that all of those plans are going to roll up together. They're going to inform an updated 2025 state plan. And the objective of that plan is to maintain the amazing quality of life and outdoor experiences we have here in Colorado. So who's up for that challenge of participating in the presentation in that way? Everybody's got a note card? People are like, I don't know. Okay, thank you. We'll come back to that at the end and capture your ideas. So the story of the Chaffee Rec Plan Commissioner Baker introduced, it actually starts in 2017. So in 2017, a group of citizens who were concerned about the rapid pace of growth without having plans in place for how to manage that growth came together, and they created Envision Chaffee County. Envision is a community visioning and planning and now implementation initiative that's really become a bit of a movement in our community. And through Envision, the community identified 4 visions for the future of Chaffee County. And one of those visions is the one that you see here. It's the vision of having healthy forest, waters, wildlife in balance with outdoor recreation. Who can sign up for that kind of vision for here in the state? Citizens here created a community action plan to make those visions a reality, and that action plan included 40 projects, and some of them were huge. Commissioner Baker mentioned one. This was in 2017. In 2018, we put a measure on the ballot to tax ourselves to help pay for this, and that passed. The community action plan also included the idea of an all lands recreation plan. So we know that, towns have their plan, the agencies have their plans, but there's no connected plan. So we said, let's make an all lands recreation plan, and let's bring the community together to do it. So I represent here today the Chaffee Rec Council. That's a team that's leading planning and implementation. It includes 21 leaders in our community from land management agencies, from the county government, including the commissioners, from town government, and citizens, including ranchers and Visitors Bureau and all of those sorts of people. In addition to that, to inform this plan, we have a group called the Recreation Task Force. That group's been meeting for 32 months in a row. It has more than 100 members. It includes the organizations that you see here and many others helping now to implement the plan. The plan is also informed by the Chaffee Rec Survey. It's a pretty cool tool which is shareable. Actually, the Chaffee Rec Survey reached 3,800 folks, visitors from 41 states, as well as residents, and we'll share some of the data about that today. It's a pretty rich data set about how folks perceive the trends in outdoor recreation and recreation management. So with all that, this team came together. They worked 29 months, and they created the Chaffee Rec Plan. The first thing we did in that plan was to establish shared goals that all of the community could get on board with and support together. Those 3 goals are the 3 that you see here, and they're really pretty straightforward. Goal 1 is to maintain healthy natural resources. I think what's exceptional about this place that we live is, I don't know who saw the sunrise this morning, but the mountains and the forests and those beautiful waters in the valley I mean, that is something that we want to sustain. We want to retain exceptional experiences. I mean, we got from climbing a 50 of the state's 14ers. We have here in Chaffee the most rafted river in the United States. I don't know if y'all got to walk around downtown yesterday, but from the River Park to Salida Mountain, S Mountain, I mean, some fabulous, exceptional experiences here. So we want to retain those as exceptional. And then third, we want to sustain the economic benefits of outdoor recreation industry. A third of our local economy is driven by outdoor recreation and tourism. Another roughly a third is driven by retiree incomes, with a lot of those folks coming to live here in their retirement because, well, it's so awesome, right? The resources and the recreation. So we're working to keep all three of those things. Who could get on board with those three goals? I mean, they're pretty straightforward. So what's the challenge? The challenge is, I'd say the challenge and the benefit is the pace of growth. So between 2016 and 2019, according to Colorado Tourism Office data, we saw economic spending in Chaffee grow by 54%. So a little over 10 to 15% a year growth. Also from that Colorado Tourism Office data, we would infer that we're seeing about 4 million visitors a year here in Chaffee, which is quite a number. The graph that you see here shows another lens on the pace of growth. This is data from Friends of 4 Mile, and I think Alan Robinson, who's a community powerhouse with Garna, is here in the audience. Alan, you might raise your hand. He's helped collect this data. So since 2009, in a 100,000 acre area in Chaffee, popular with recreation, they've been collecting data on how many folks are using the area during Memorial Day. And so you can see here, if you look at the data, if you look just from 2013 to 2021, we've seen a 200% increase in the number of folks camping overnight, a 220% increase in the number of folks using OHVs and ATVs in that area. So a fast rate of growth, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. It's just an observation that we're growing fast. The challenge is that we don't or haven't had comprehensive plans in place to manage that growth, and that agency funds to manage the impacts of that growth are falling behind. So a really interesting number that we see is if we look at the budgets of the U.S. Forest Service and the BLM and CPW altogether, we've actually saw those decline in real terms from 2016 to 2019. So as this growth is happening, their budgets are actually shrinking. So much so that if you combine it with growth, we've seen their budget decrease 40% on a per user basis. So growth is happening like crazy. We have 40% less dollars to help manage it. And all that's coming together as you might expect in creating imbalance. So once we set these goals in place, we said, gosh, let's measure how we're doing on these goals as a community so that we can get serious about addressing any places where we're not performing well. So we created this pretty cool tool. It's called the Chaffee Recreation Report Card. And there's maybe nothing like grades to get your attention, right? Whether they're yours or your kids when they bring them home. So these are our grades. The Chaffee Rec Council developed indicators for each of those three goals, things that we could measure, that we well measure every 2 years repeatedly to see how we're doing. And you can see that top set of grades is how we're doing on recreation economy. So you get an A if things are improving. So if we look at jobs created by recreation, if we look at tax revenues, all of that's on the rise. Those are A's that you see on the report card. If things are a little bit uncertain, you see a grade like a C, or if they're declining slightly. So when we look at the economy, one of the interesting things we learned in that survey, again, 3,800 people from 41 states participating, what we heard is that 70% of residents and more than half of all participants feel like right now the impacts of outdoor rec industry growth are actually outweighing the benefits. So that's a red flag, certainly if I'm a business person, for business and for sustainability. Now we might ask why is that, and is that real? I mean, is there a real reason for folks to feel that way? And that brings us maybe to the second grade on the report card. So we talked about how close those forest, waters, and wildlife are to our hearts and our experience. And you can see that's a D on our report card. So when we talked to the community about that in the survey, we asked, how do you think the health of forest, waters, and wildlife is trending? What we heard from them is 80% of residents, more than half of all respondents, feel like the quality of those things is in decline. And part of that's recreation, part of it, of course, is also climate change and other factors. We also see in this space the first F on our report card. Here in Chaffee County, that's related to dispersed camping. So that's camping where you can kind of go out on the public lands and camp wherever you want. What we're seeing that's a challenge in that space is we have about 2,800 measured campsites in Chaffee County. Associated with those 2,800 campsites are 3,800 gallons of trash, 550 piles of human waste, and increasing denuded footprints. So nobody wants to go camp and poop, right? Pretty simple. So that's a D. Those impacts are increasing by 13% every year. So rapid rate of decline. We're also seeing consistent declines in our local wildlife populations. So all that wraps together in a challenging score on the natural resources side. And then the third category is exceptional experiences. So we're doing a bit better there. But when we asked, one of the things we asked in the survey is if you've come to Chaffee multiple times, how is the quality of that experience changing? Is it, I mean, we'd hope that it's at least staying the same or getting better. What we heard is that for 50% of residents, a third of visitors, that they feel like the quality of their experiences are actually declining. And they feel like that because of the natural resource damage. They feel like that a little bit because of user conflicts and the behaviors of other users. And they feel like that a little bit because there's more dust and more noise. That's what they wrote in their comments. So there we are. One other F you see, you can't probably see that at the bottom of the report card, is again that 40% decline in management resources. So those grades kind of suck. You want to, maybe not what you want to bring home to your parents, right, on your report card. But here's the deal. I think this community and this community of recreation businesses is special, and that we can change this equation. Our goal here in Chaffee is really simple. It's to get A's on this report card. We're going to redo it in 2 years. We're going to redo it in 5 years. And we hope in 5 years we're going to be over here on the right where everything's an A. To do that, we've created the Chaffee Rec Plan with all the folks that you saw there. So the Chaffee Rec Plan works to keep our recreation clean, fun, wild for this generation and for future generations. And it has initiatives in it that look to manage camping so that it's high quality and low impact, that look to get the right infrastructure in place, that look to keep it fun. I mean, some of the experiences that folks have in and around towns are just awesome. So we're going to double down on those and focus on what we call community concentration zones. We're also looking, and other folks have mentioned this, at ways to encourage better recreation ethics, both through education and through enforcement. In the Keep It Wild space, I mentioned the wildlife populations are declining. We have a big hairy ass goal, if I can say that in here. That's to stop those declines and to change the trajectory so that we're not only not having wildlife decline, we're actually starting to recover some of our populations. Similarly with the ag, we have another survey that shows that recreation users cost our ag providers about $100,000 a year in direct damages. Those look like cut fences and stock tanks that people go swimming in and that kind of stuff. We're working to flip that equation in the next 5 years from a negative number to a positive number. So there may be places there where you all can help and business can engage. And then, of course, we're looking to fund this and maintain it into the future. So I'm going to drill into each of those a little bit more. And this is a good time for you all maybe to start thinking about what you might jot down on as far as ideas of how we might do this together. So we are working here in Chaffee on an all-lands camping plan. We're asking ourselves, how might we manage camping across the whole landscape? On the federal lands, all of our land management agencies are starting planning processes. We're encouraging them to move from this camping without any regulation to something that looks more like camping in designated sites only, and sites with some more facilities so we can keep them clean. At the same time, we know we need to add capacity. So we're looking to add camping capacity on the private side of the fence, looking to encourage camping businesses, RV parks, KOAs. We're also looking at groups like Hip Camp and our county code and looking to find ways that we can encourage things like camping on agricultural lands where that could be a source of revenue for our agricultural operators instead of a source of cost. So a lot going on in the camping space. Joe Griner's here today. He's running a program, you can raise your hand, Joe, called Chaffee Rec Adopters. They've collected all the data that you see here on campsites in the county and also are going to be working in a program we'll talk about in a second. In addition to managing camping, we are looking at getting the right infrastructure in place. So we looked across the entire county and said, what is the infrastructure that we need to manage this rate of growth sustainably? We rated all those projects based on the 3 goals. How do they help economy? How do they help the environment? How do they help the quality of our experiences? We came up with 95 projects spread all over the county. They include restrooms. They include a lot of cool trail connectors in town. For example, one of the trails is a 1-mile ADA access trail along the River Park in BV. Another trail is a reroute of the trail up Chavano, which as many as 300 folks a day climb. So a lot in here for trails. We're looking at expanded parking facilities. We're looking at expanding campgrounds. We're looking at barriers and things to keep wildlife and recreators a bit more separate. All of that rolls into a $15 million plan over the next 5 years for infrastructure. And if somebody out there can come up with a bomb-proof modular bathroom that we could replicate and make about 30 of them and put them all over the landscape, that would be super helpful because restrooms are a big part of the equation. We're also looking to double down on our experiences in and around town. So one of the things that we learned in the Chaffee Rec Survey is that those experiences near town where you can come and have breakfast, you know, in town, go down to the river park, surf some waves, take a mountain bike ride up S Mountain and come back and have a beer. People just love them. They're super popular. So we said, that's fabulous. Let's double down on those experiences in and around town with trail connectors, with cool things to do in the river parks, etc. That's a place where we think recreation has the most direct impact to business in a positive way. We also think it's a place where it has the least impact out on the public lands. So a good place. So we're doing all we can to encourage new development to focus in those concentration zones. And then, of course, we're also working to inspire better behaviors. And we hear education really commonly is maybe a bit of a panacea. And I don't want to underestimate the difficulty of educating 4 million users a year who are always changing. I mean, that's a big job. But we're working to do it, and we're working to put enforcement with it because we think that could be pretty educational as well. We have a program called Chaffee Rec Rangers that we piloted this summer. It was fabulously successful. The county and the Common Ground Fund and the towns all came together to fund 4 additional officers with the BLM and the Forest Service. They've been out cleaning up and providing educational conversations with people. We have the Rec Adopters program with Joe. In that program, we're inviting the community to come in and not only monitor all these rec sites, but to help steward them. Next year, that's been so successful, next year we're going to expand that to town assets as well. I think there may be opportunities in there for business to brand yourself, to be a part of those programs, to maybe help fund these adopters or adopt areas as businesses. And then Scott Peterson's going to talk later about some really cool stuff the Visitors Bureau is doing that's called an Adventure by Nature campaign, which is also aimed at getting positive messages about how to behave well when you come to Chaffee, out in front of visitors even before they show up in Chaffee. So we're excited about that. In the Keep It Wild space, some really interesting information that we learned in the survey. So we asked in the survey folks, how important is it to you to manage recreation for these things? And we gave them a whole list of things. And one of the things we asked is how important is it to manage recreation to protect wildlife? And we were actually surprised by the response. 95% of the folks who took that survey said that the most important thing to them is managing recreation to protect wildlife. And they even rated that before managing recreation to keep their own current access, and way, way, way before managing recreation to add more trails or more, more whatever. So we took that to heart. Honestly, it surprised us that there was that much passion around wildlife. We've created here in Chaffee this pretty cool tool. It combines 44 different habitats for wildlife. They're all rated by how important they are to the economy, how the wildlife populations are trending, and how rare they are. That all comes together into this single map that shows where in the county the most creatures could be most impacted, either by negative things or also by treatments to enhance the health of our forest. So we're using this map to help guide where we put new recreation, trying to avoid the purple areas on the map and steer recreation into the green and gray zones, quite simply. And then we're also working finally here to raise, all of this plan requires $20 million in funding for infrastructure and for management over the next 5 years. We're working, of course, on collaborative grants. We're working with the land management agencies to try to help them get funding. We've been pretty successful in the first 6 months. I think we've gathered about $3 million of that. So we're on track. Seems like a big, hairy goal, and it is. But we feel like it's doable, and the big feature that we've created here is a thing called the Chaffee Rec Fund. The idea of that is a place where businesses and community members can all donate into a single place, and those dollars get deployed solely to the projects and programs in this plan to make those 3 big goals a reality, and that vision of healthy forest, waters, and wildlife in balance with recreation happen. So you all may also have ideas about how we can, to mutual benefit, connect business into that concept. So in the last minutes here, just wrapping it up, what we're trying to create here in Chaffee is a shared recreation culture, a culture that protects the natural resources that we all hold so dear and that help keep our public lands clean, fun, and wild, not just for this generation, but for future generations. And that brings us back to the questions for you. And we'd love everybody to write at least one idea on the note cards that you have. How might we connect you to this idea of a shared rec culture, the idea of shared stewardships in ways that are beneficial to the plan, but also beneficial to the outdoor recreation industry and to all of you? Or in other words, how might we implement this plan and coming behind it, other similar plans across the state together, plans that are going to roll up into a state plan to really protect those things that we hold dear while we grow, kind of how we grow smartly, I guess you would say in a nutshell. Whoops. So I'm going to stop there. We're going to do 2 things next. We're going to ask you to write something on your card, any idea. If you have a zillion ideas, you can write those. If you want to put your name on it, you can. If you want to be secret, that's cool too. Pass those down to the end of the row once you get them. So just be one idea of how we can team up. And then we have about 6 minutes left here, so we'll use that time to take questions and also to invite folks here in the audience and then folks online to share questions and to share any awesome ideas you have about how we can do this together. Yeah, questions? I'll repeat it if I can hear it. Oh, she's got a mic. That's awesome.
So you talked about the dispersed camping, and I just read a very interesting article about homelessness from the pandemic that is severely impacting diverse camping. And I wondered if you considered that and any plans to deal with that. It's whole families just moving from dispersed camping to dispersed camping because they can't afford to pay rent.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So in the All Lands Camping Plan, absolutely, that's part of the, I guess, I don't know if magic's the right word, part of the vision that we're trying to create with this plan is connecting all these pieces. So the Chaffee County Housing Authority is involved in this work. Our local ministers group are also involved in this work. And there has been a lot of conversation about how we help transition folks living on public lands, residing on public lands, to more sustainable housing situations as part of this camping management. We've talked about the possibility of camping in town. Certainly, you guys know Chaffee, Salida in particular, has some pretty cool housing projects going on, which CCEDC has helped drive. So absolutely, I would say we don't have an easy answer to that. It's a big, complex equation, but we are absolutely aware that workforce housing and folks residing on public lands is part of the equation that we're trying to solve when we think about all lands camping and how to manage it. Other questions, other ideas? Yeah, if you could share the homework questions up on the screen again. I love it, homework questions. So the question is, how might we, if we think about the ideas in this rec plan, and we think about creating a shared culture of sustainable recreation, if we think about shared stewardship, where we recognize that the public land managers just don't, and they're not going to have enough money to manage this sustainably themselves, how do we engage as a community? How do we engage in business to be part of the solution to this equation and to create that kind of sustainable, awesome recreation in here and across Colorado for future generations? That's the big question. Yeah.
It's Bill Dvorak. I think one of the things that you haven't really addressed with any of this funding is just, again, the workforce housing and the affordable housing. And one of the things that we face in this recreational industry is we bring people in and we want them to work for us, but they can't afford to live here. So, you know, that's what's putting more people in this, diverse camping and those kind of places. And it just seems like those two things have to work hand in hand. And I'm wondering if you have anything in your plans to try to address that better.
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's kind of back to the workforce housing question. And we have, if folks out there have ideas of how to address that, we'd love to hear them. We have heard some ideas that have some possibilities. Bill, we have seen an idea coming out of Eagle and Vale where businesses are allowing folks to camp in their business parking lots overnight, kind of hashtag van life sort of stuff. We have seen counties that have made adjustments in county code to make camping on county lands or city lands or business lands a little bit more doable to try to manage that. Other groups in the county, Chaffee County Housing Authority, CCEDC are working as well to add affordable, sustainable housing, which is that's like a whole nother big plan in progress, as you know. So those are some of the things we're thinking of. No doubt these things are interconnected.
So my question was actually related to both of theirs. So the pandemic has obviously caused a lot of housing issues for folks, but something that's not new to the outdoor rec industry is this hashtag van life thing, people living in tents, people living in their cars. Is the council planning on addressing the difference between that cultural mindset of like, I want to live outside, I want to live in a tent, versus the guides who are forced to do that when they would much rather have an apartment?
Yeah, so I think the question is how do we address the concept that folks are residing on public lands, and some of those are doing that because they want to, because that's a lifestyle they choose, and some of them are doing it because they have to, because they need a place to live. Certainly we're open to solutions that address all of those different angles. I wouldn't say we have the answers, but as part of the All Lands Camping Plan, we're looking at addressing those. I mean, I think on the public land side, the public lands aren't intended to be used for residential use. And certainly the impact of human waste and all that's a real thing. So we're looking at tightening there, but looking at adding capacity in other places. And I guess that's a question back to you all for your cards as a rec industry, right? How is the rec industry interested in partnering and helping to address that? What would be helpful for you, and what are solutions that we could do to these complex issues together? We'd love to hear them. We're certainly aware of those and working on the answers, but love to hear your thoughts on solutions. And we're busy kind of looking for those across the West as well. Yeah, here in the center. Microphone's coming to you, just a sec. It's on the way. Thanks. I see folks are writing stuff on your notes, and those are coming in too, so thanks for that. All the ideas help. I mean, you guys are fabulously smart and creative, so bring them on. Yeah.
Just a quick note on that, the Crescent Butte Chamber of Commerce for the past 2 summers has had a fun, interesting program of businesses sponsoring porta potties. So as a business owner, you can sponsor for the summer a porta potty out at a trailhead.
Oh, I love that idea. Businesses sponsoring porta potties. That's fabulous. I mean, we have, yeah, thanks for that idea. I hadn't heard that, but we'll look into that. That's awesome. Other ideas, other thoughts? Yeah, here in the middle.
I'm curious if you have any concerns with maintaining the user experiences in those recreation growth areas. They seem a little small, a little restrictive compared to the size of the county. Are you concerned at all about maintaining the great experiences we have here within that limited footprint?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So are the community concentration zones big enough? That's come up actually quite a bit. We do have a provision in the plan that those can be adjusted as the community grows. I think we got a good start on them. I don't know if they're perfect yet. I would say that when you look at studies, and you all might be familiar with this, if you look at studies of national parks and areas where people come and they expect a fairly concentrated use, that having additional users in that area doesn't necessarily create a negative experience quality. We have seen, I mean, we're sitting here, for example, on the most rafted river in the United States, and I think people experience that as fabulous. And that's because it is pretty well managed for low impact and is able to take up that use. So I think there's some opportunities for that. I absolutely think there's opportunities to better connect the community and to add assets in the community that folks can use. We don't mean to say, though, that we're saying, look, there's never going to be any more development on public lands, because that, of course, isn't true either. I mean, we know we're going to need some of both. The idea is putting those in areas where they will have lesser impact. And beyond the community concentration zones, I think there's ample areas to do that on that map as well, using the right-of-ways of county roads, using areas that are corridors of lesser impact. So I wouldn't say it's easier. It's easy. People absolutely want their experience and they want to protect wildlife, and we got to keep that conversation open and figure it out. Feels like we're on the right path, but we got to keep working it, right? Awesome questions. Over here, yeah.
One resource that I've seen at some heavy use areas is providing wag bags or like poop bags, and then also trash bags, and that kind of has a double impact as it gives you something to actually put your waste in, but it also really encourages education. And so you also mentioned, I forget what the video was, but you're educating people before they come in here on perhaps L&T practices and whatnot. But as I've kind of traveled around Chaffee County, I haven't seen a huge, I don't know, I guess like push for L&T practices like you run into in the Front Range. So is that something that maybe we're working towards so we can educate our users?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the projects in the plan is actually called Signs of Change, and the idea of that, the big idea was to put together a kind of a comprehensive signage campaign with some consistent branding and some really high-level L&T messages and getting those out everywhere so that people are seeing them not only in the Visitors Bureau campaign, but again and again as they come to the county. So yeah, that's a fabulous idea, and the wag bags as well. Yeah.
Cindy, our business accelerator down in Durango helped support a startup company called Expedition Outside. They're an app where private landowners can provide access to riverfront for fishing or camping. So I see that as a possibility, and they get paid for it as well. So it puts a little money in the landowner's pocket, and it also helps to begin to solve some of that trouble of overuse in certain parts of our riverfront and all that.
Oh, that's awesome to hear about. I'll catch up with you and learn more about that. That sounds like a fabulous win-win. One more question, and then we'll wrap it up. And if you have other ideas, put them on the card, send them in, or share them offline. Yeah.
What I'd like to share is a solution that has to do with specifically human waste. That is one of the ultimate goals as we grow and we promote tourism. We have to realize that we have to be responsible about that. So that's the common culture that we share is human waste. And if we can learn how to be responsible about it, I'd like to be able to share a solution revolving composting system called Bokashi. It's a system using microorganisms. In agriculture, it can be used for eliminating odor in farm animals. It can help forest health. It can be used for, I'm not really quite sure what the laws are around it, but it can be used for creating humanure, which is like an accelerated form of breaking down human waste using microorganisms. So that's what I would like to bring to the table, is sharing that whether it's the landfill or whether it's our individual households or wherever you can really think that human waste exists, it's all about educating people about beneficial microbial activity and eliminating the bacteria that creates the issues that we all deal with smell, with methane gases that are released from the landfill. And it's an educational practice that we can all share with one another so that we can use it with our waste in our kitchens. We can use it potentially to create resources out of something that we consider waste now, could actually become resources that can be put back into the earth that could make a beneficial microorganism colony in places that is necessary to establish those colonies again.
Okay, fabulous. Well, I look forward to catching up with you off, maybe out on the edges with more information about that. Thank you all for what you do and the benefits you bring to our local economy and your ideas.
Thank you, Cindy. Now it's time for a break. If you guys could take 10 minutes and come back in, we'll get started back up with Scott Peterson and Angel Roswell. Thank you.
You ready there? Okay. Sorry we're having these technical challenges. We really did troubleshoot it. Rick and I both align and say it did work this morning. So I don't know. Anyway, it is my great pleasure to introduce Scott Peterson and Angel Rowell. Both Scott and Angel have done incredible work with Chaffee County Visitors Bureau. And I'm going to keep talking like I don't even know there's a man next to me. Anyway, they have just done incredible work, which is why we're trying to get these videos to not only have you see them, but hear them really well. And really, not just in getting tourists here, but on the education of sustainable tourism. So please help me welcome Angel and Scott.
You need to find your PowerPoint again. The screen.
Jamie, isn't it this one? I think it's this one right here.
That one?
Yeah. Great.
Okay, now we have to go down.
Yeah. Hang on, slideshow. Yeah, so I'll let you take over from there.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
That works. You can go to slide 50.
This is a recap of the morning. And now we're solving all the world's problems. Maybe.
You're getting close.
Sponsors. There you go.
All right. No worries. Welcome, or welcome back from the break. Hopefully you all got a snack and a beverage. Hi, Mike. Good to see you. My name is Angel Roll, as Jamie said. I'm the co-founder, I should say, of Discovery Pass. And my partner in crime today is Scott Peterson. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Good morning, I'm Scott. I'm the marketing director for the Chaffee County Visitors Bureau.
Today, Scott and I are going to talk to you a little bit about the work we do and the Adventure by Nature Pledge. So to kick it off, Scott, take it away.
So yeah, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the Chaffee County Visitors Bureau, how it works, and the value of tourism in the county. But first, does anybody know how to talk to a fish? Just drop it a line. So, can we get the slides up on the screen?
There you go.
You got them? All right, so the goal of the Chaffee County Visitors Bureau is to enhance, the county, to improve the quality of life in our county through tourism. We're funded by a 1.9% lodging tax that is a tax on every short-term rental in the county. So basically, every day, our visitors spend $350,000 here to stimulate our economy. Every dollar we spend, we get $180 back. So, as Cindy had said earlier, about 33% of our jobs in the county are tourism related. So we've got about 8,000 jobs, 1,200 of them are tourism related. And that goes a long way. So our taxes have increased since 2015, 65% and 55% in the two towns. We save each household about $1,081 each year in taxes. And in 2019, we've generated $8,900,000. So it's a great industry for us, but this year with COVID and stuff, we got a little bit overwhelmed. We're a safe place here. People have been coming here for generations and really enjoy it. So we came up with the idea of creating a Adventure by Nature pledge to try and educate people about responsible recreation in the valley. So first I'm going to have Angel tell a joke, and then she's going to tell about the Discovery Pass that she created and how we utilized that and implemented that in the Adventure by Nature pledge. So Angel was shopping the other day in downtown Salida, and she was looking for camouflage pants.
Oh.
What happened?
What happened? I couldn't find any. We'll be here all week. Okay, so really quickly, to give you a little background on Discovery Pass.
So if you do get the opportunity to visit our valley here and recreate, keep an eye out for Humpty Dumpty. Loves camping up here.
Thank you for that. Good. Yes.
I can't tell if I'm bombing or not because you guys are all masked out. So we took this campaign out and we spent $50,000 on producing the videos and getting it in front of people. We got an amazing result. We already have a huge following with our social media and stuff. We have over 100,000 followers. So we target our audience along with hitting people while they're here. That's what we really want to do. So we did about 50 posts and we reached 1.2 million people, almost 5 million impressions. And the reactions are the key, because now we're building an audience that we can create lookalike audiences and invite these people because these are the type of people that we want to come back and play. Visitors Bureau never supposed to do this. It automatically happens. We're trying to get a year-round economy that's strong, so restaurants and businesses have year-round staff that's consistent. And so there's one thing to get the message in front of people, and this is just a slice. So this was basically just a report from Facebook, Instagram, and our social media system. Increase the audience. So we're still promoting this. And what we'll do is we'll create lookalike audiences so to get like people that are like-minded, that are interested in responsible recreation. So a few other things that we're trying to do with this campaign is we have these beautiful James Hagen canvases along with the Adventure by Nature flags that we've given to every brick and mortar business in the valley. We have a business in the valley that can go to let us know which one. And so we're trying to get that in front of people that way. So the businesses are putting it on their walls. We've taken the audio